So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to
Good evening.
welcome you to the live session of digital literacy training. So before I bring our training expert on board, I would like to explain our program. So I think currently we have about 9 people on board. We are expecting other people to join us. And for those that will not be able to join us, we are currently recording this session. So can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to upload.
Yes, we can hear you.
We are going to upload the recorded session on our YouTube for those that will be missing today's class. However, we encourage that you try as much as possible to always be available anytime we're having these live sessions, because we are taking note of all attendance, which is going to So quickly, let me introduce you to digital literacy training. This is the first cohort of the 3 cohorts. We have 250 people participating in this particular cohort. And then for the cohort, we have 5 modules specifically. We have first module, Foundation of Digital Literacy. We have Wikipedia editing and formatting. I think I will need to almost everyone.
Are you? I don't know if you're talking to me because you don't come my name.
Okay, I think I'll need to waste it on.
I'm not going to home. I'll come to Pabia. It's a guy winning. A brand can go calculate question quite for you.
Is that fellow?
Calculate quite for you. Calculate. I mean,
I thought I muted everyone. Okay, so we just need to avoid any kind of distraction from any quarter. So we're trying our best to do that for you. Okay, so like I said, we have 5 modules. The first one is Foundation of Digital Literacy, which we are currently having the live session. The second one is Wikipedia editing and formatting. The third one, creation and management of institutional repository. The fourth one is multimedia creation and management. And the last but not the least is social media management. So you can see that we had carefully selected all of these digital literacy competencies. So we have designed our training in such a way that you are going to have a fruitful journey with us, because we don't just want you to attend the training. Thank you, ma'am. We don't just want you to attend the training. We want to see you replicate all of these trainings in your various workplace. So the training is going to run for 8 weeks. The first module, which is starting today, is from 7th to 13th. I believe you can see my screen. Yeah, and Damla Reoyedele will be the facilitator for that module. The second one is going to run from 14th to 27th February. The third one is going to run from 27th to 30th March. And the 28th February to 12th March. The fourth one is going to run from 13th to 26th March. And the last one is going to run for 27th to 30th March. And by first week of April, we are going to be having our certification and graduation ceremony. And in the course of this training, we are going to be having 2 webinars. We intend bringing some experts in some of these digital literacy competence areas, those that have done so well with some of these skills, so that they can share their journey, their knowledge with you all. Okay, so this is our training structure. We are going to be having 2 live sessions. The first one is the training proper, just like this one we are having currently. We are also going to be having live sessions, recaps, that is going to be holding on every Saturdays. So the essence of that is for those that will be missing the first session, the recap session is going to help them also have a view of what was taught in the training proper. Then if you have questions and answer, possibly after going through the course contents and some of your assignments, and you stumble on any difficulty in attending to them, the Saturday live sessions will give you the avenue to be able to ask all of those questions. Then also, we are going to be having on our training platform, we are going to be having the training materials. We're also going to be having pre-quiz assessment. I can see that some of us are already attending to some of those assignments and quizzes on our platform. It's very good. It's very good. So, but if you possibly after today's training, if you feel some of the answers you have provided is wrong, we have not graded that, you can still revisit it, correct it, and then you can reassign it. Now, we also have course materials for every module. It is subdivided into units. So for each unit, we have an assignment attached to it. So you are expected to attend to those assignments before the deadline. All the quiz and assignments has a deadline. If you fail to attend to them before the deadline, you might not be able to attend to them again. That is the way the platform is being designed. So try as much as possible to find a day or two to attend to your assignment within the specified period. So we also have practicals on each of the modules. We try as much as possible to demonstrate what we are trying to explain. For instance, in the case of Wikipedia, we have tried as much as possible to demonstrate it from how to create your own username, to how to edit your articles and the likes, to how to upload on Wiki Commons and some of the skills like that. So we will be able to replicate the same thing that was done during the practical sessions. So an instruction has been attached to all of these practical sessions, and you'll see by the time we embark on the journey fully, you will be able to see all of that. Now, aside from that, we have created a WhatsApp platform, which by now 90% or 80% of us have joined. And that platform is essentially for you to be able to ask questions. You are going to be available 24/7, even in the midnights. If we are awake, we try as much as possible to attend to all of your questions. And I believe you can attest to the fact that we have been trying our best to attend to every questions. So please always try as much as possible to clear your doubts using that platform. Then finally, we have certification and graduation. Now, you will only be qualified for certificates if you meet all the training requirements. That means that you must attend live sessions at least 70% or 60%. You must attend live sessions. You must attend to a good number of the assignments and quizzes, and also do the practicals. The practicals are very, very important. So it is through this we are going to determine if you are qualified for the certificates or not. Okay, so today we are going to start in the joining with the foundation of digital literacy, which will be facilitated by Mr. Damilare Oyedele, and I'll be moderating this session. So I'll try to implore you all, let's avoid any form of distraction so that we can get what Mr. Oyedele is going to dish out to us this evening. So any form of distraction, try as much as possible to avoid it. So currently I have muted everyone, because I can see some background noise from some of the participants. So throughout Mr. Oyedele's facilitating. I'll be muting everyone. Then if you have questions or you have clarifications as regard what is being taught, you can use the chat session. So we are going to curate all of your questions and opinions, and at the end of the lecture, we are going to relate same to Mr. Oyedele for him to provide adequate answers to them. So I believe our speaker has joined us, but we won't bring him on board unless we introduce him properly. Okay. So Damilare Oyedele is the co-founder and chief executive Library Aid Africa. He's a librarypreneur with a keen interest in library development programs in sub-Saharan Africa countries around SDGs, capacity development of emerging library leaders, library connectivity, innovative design for libraries, library advocacy, policy, and research. Library Aid Africa is a not-for-profit organization that harnesses digital technology and citizen engagement approaches to realize the potential of libraries to deliver development. Through programmatic approach on technology innovation for libraries, innovation co-creation and community engagement and library advocacy, policy and research. We support the strategic improvement of libraries across African countries, working collaboratively with in-country library partners, library institutions, library associations, library NGOs, and non-profit.
Plays each context in this part. Okay. The growing role of digital platforms are information dissemination. All right. And to start with, this is that digital platforms over time have become primary channels rather for information dissemination, significantly impacting how individuals access and consume information. Because now we can get information from our phone, from our laptops. We don't have to wait to go buy a newspaper to read and get information anymore. All right. The world is now a global village, as it has been said. Okay. Right. This has amplified the importance of data literacy in discerning and evaluating the vast amount of information available online. Right. And this shows in context of how we are transitioning, and how we have transitioned rather from the paper-based environment to digital tools and digital platforms, and how we as librarians over time, we have been part and parcel of this process. We are really one of the major drivers of technology, of digital transitioning through library service provision that we have in our various libraries. Okay, and that point leads us to the next module around, what are the core competencies of digital literacy. Remember, today we started by discussing an introduction to digital literacy, where we have discussed what is digital literacy, the importance of digital literacy, and now we've dived into the historical context. Now we spoke about more around digital literacy in terms of scope and definition and various natures of digital literacy. We've also spoken about the importance of digital literacy to our personal self and also as a professional. And we just finished, giving us some historical context to understand how we as librarians have been at the forefront, is engagement of access to digital knowledge over time. Okay. So now, the next point around, what are the core competencies? Remember earlier I was speaking about information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy, and data literacy. All these are interconnected, and they play a huge role in building our data literacy skills as librarians, and how this been applicable to the work we do in our various libraries. Okay, so we'll start with information literacy, and this primarily aligns towards skills for identifying information, locating, evaluating, and using information effectively. Okay, and information literacy, strategically involves the ability to recognize when information is needed and to locate, evaluate, and use citizen information effectively. And I believe these are the skills we have already as librarians, because we are trained professionals to understand how to use information appropriately and offer services delivery. All right. And the key skills around this, which could include search queries, differentiating between the type of sources, and critical assessing the relevance and quality of information. This clearly shows that these are the things we've been trained to do as librarians, all right? And this shows that we have this knowledge of information literacy as a background, okay? And now, diving further onto media literacy, and this context here aligns in two major ways to one, understanding media messages and their impacts. Number two, analyzing biases and credibility in various media platforms. Okay, because these are essential components we need to understand. And under the first point there, on understanding media messages and their impacts, I think media literacy is the ability for us as librarians to access, analyze, and evaluate, create, and act using forms of communication. Okay, and it also involves for us, understanding how media content is created, and its purpose, examine the underlying messages, and recognizing bias and stereotypes. All right. It has to do with how we're able to understand media messages, understanding, okay, what is this message is about? Is it targeting something? What does it communicate? And what is the impact of what is communicated? A message could communicate chaos. How do we understand how to de-escalate the situation? So it all depends on how we're able to navigate the situation we find ourselves where this happens as librarians. All right. And diving to the second point around analyzing bias and credibility in various media platforms. Okay. And this contextually has to do with activities including analyzing news articles, social media posts, and advertising to identify bias and assess credibility. Can see media literacy is about understanding what to post, what not to post, not sharing fake information, taking a pause to understand, okay, this message, what does it communicate? Will it propel misinformation or disinformation? And these are a few pointers we're going to diving forward across other courses that we offered in this session as we progress. All right. So now going to the next point that we have here around technology literacy. And this is the major big deal because it has to do with how we're able to, proficiently use digital tools and platforms. And of course, lay more emphasis around practical skills and their application. Okay, so now under proficiency with data tools and platforms, I mean, technology literacy offers this ability to use, manage, evaluate, understand technology in the context of how do I use a computer? As a librarian, do you know how to set up your own laptop yourself? Do you know how to offer digital training skills in your library? Can you train somebody on how to open a computer, to use a Microsoft Word, and even support your library users when they can search jobs online? All it goes to are we able to use technology proficiently in our work? Are you able to, as a librarian, okay, develop all a database to store up your resources? It all has to do with how we're able to use technology in a proficiency way. Okay, these skills can include familiarizing with data tools such as data catalog and databases commonly used in libraries. So we have a responsibility to identify how these things apply to our libraries and the proficiency skills we need to apply them to work. Okay, and going on the second point around our emphasis on practical skills, the reason why I mentioned earlier that for this component of digital literacy and all, it all depends on our application. Are you taking responsibility to lead, to know how to use these tools yourself? Are you taking responsibility to learn how to use them? Because these are things that a lot of them are self-taught, right? And these are things we need to act and practicalize ourselves as we progress. Okay, it's about training in using library management software and relevant digital tools. Could be, okay, how do you use core or library software? Do you have your own in-library management system that you want to use? How do you use it? How do you use social media platform to promote your library? It all depends on what and how we're able to go in there, all right, to apply and use these tools for library service delivery. All right. And this shows how we can possibly, include setting up training programs in the libraries, inviting experts to train our librarians on how to use digital tools and capabilities, and also ourselves applying these principles ourselves will be very instrumental to improve capacity as we progress. Okay, so now going forward to the last component of we have on literacy, which is about data. And this plays a very, very huge role, I must say. This played a very, very huge role in the context of are we having data to support decision-making processes? Okay. First point here is basic of data interpretation and use in decision-making process. Okay. I'm also going to discuss a few case studies. And the first point is around how can you use data to inform your library directors, to inform your stakeholders to understand the impact for libraries on the community where you serve them, and what they need to improve on your funding, how you need to be able to support library development much more better. All these aligns towards the possibility for people to interpret data adequately for decision-making processes. Right. So data literacy involves understanding and using data effectively to inform decisions, right? Includes the ability to read, work with, analyze, and discuss data. So for instance, what are you using with your library user data in the context of how many people use your library in a month? Okay, how many people use your library in a year? What kind of books are being borrowed from your library? Those are data you can use to understand your library service delivery, and then that can improve library service delivery as you progress. All right? Because those data that you collect in your circulation desk, those are important data that can use to understand the service you're offering your library and how that can impact and improve on library service delivery in your library. Okay, so a case study could be, analyzing how you can improve library service delivery in the context of getting feedback from your users to understand, how you can improve service delivery for them. It could be examples showing how data can inform policy and service decision in your library. All this relies heavily on how we can use data as librarians to communicate decision-making processes that will improve our library service delivery. All right, so diving further to the next point of discussion now, which we much more contextualize in the context of digital literacy in libraries. Okay, digital tools in libraries. All right. What are they? I mean, we all like librarians here. I know you must have been using various digital tools in your various libraries, various platforms and softwares that are applicable to your work. Okay. All right. But we're diving further into some major pointers of three major areas. Okay. I'll be diving around the overview of data cataloging, e-resource management, on online engagement, because looking at the context of our library operates, these three things are what we use much more progressively. At least we need to start to use, if we haven't started to use them already, to support libraries' role to equip ourselves the capacity to be digital literate and apply these principles in our libraries. Digital cataloging, I'm going to start with that because it has revolutionized how libraries manage and provide access to their collections. It involves organizing library resources digitally for effective retrieval and accessibility. We all know what we call online public access catalog. Basic, right? How are we using these tools to further engage our library users? How are we improving on them? And this all goes to our approach as librarians, digital literate, to create such tools readily available for our library users to access and track our library services electronically, seamlessly. The second point I'm going to mention is about e-resources management, which encompasses the selection, acquisition, licensing, and placing of digital books like ebooks and online journals. And a lot of libraries subscribes to online databases that we have available. It could be JSTOR, it could be Science Direct, it could be a lot of them out there, which has played an instrumental role in offering library service delivery, which also relies heavily on our digital literacy we have. So as librarians, do you know how to use these platforms? Do you know how to navigate through this platform? Do you know how to guide and guide your library user through to understand how they can use the OPAC, how they can access the resources electronically? And of course, one aspect we haven't really explored in the library ecosystem is the online engagement, which refers to using digital platforms such as social media platform to interact with our library users and reach our library users, and also our website. Because this is a platform where we can use to engage a number of our users, especially those in academic libraries, public libraries, okay? Because a lot of your students that use your library, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, are using those platforms to engage them progressively as you go ahead. All this goes back to how digital literate are we as librarians and how are we applying these to. So now, all these contexts are more of like an action call for us. How are we taking action towards using online platforms like social media platforms to engage our library users? Okay, so now diving forward to my next point here, that was already given a detailed insight into this already, where I mentioned about OPAC, e-resources management, and online engagement using online platforms. Okay, and of course some platforms. And I also gave an example of how this is applicable in terms of the OPAC, the e-resources, and online engagement through social media platforms and other online platforms. Okay, which these are practical examples that we can start to, as librarians, start to see, okay, how can we apply this in our libraries? What skills do I need to make this possible? And how am I training my other colleagues in order to use this? Okay, great. So going forward onto my fourth module today, which is about practical skills and tools. And here I will be outlining a few tools that could be applicable for us as librarians. I'm going to go take us through introduction to essential data tools, and I'll also dive in around cybersecurity basics for librarians, because we are handling a lot of people's information, data, right? And these are essential for us to understand how do we protect this information. Okay, so under the first component there, introduction to essential data tools, it is obvious that hands-on training in content management system and database software is important. And of course, are we exploring various communication tools and collaboration tools? For instance, now we're using Zoom now to deliver this lecture and discuss online. Okay, these digital communication tools, we're using WhatsApp to chat and discuss. That is digital communication tool. Okay, are we using these basic tools to further engage our users? Are we training ourselves on how to use these tools to further engage our clientele in our various libraries? Right. So content management systems used in libraries, they all varies, okay? And it all depends on the capacity level. There's WordPress, which focuses on how, the roles of libraries to manage digital content effectively in context of, we have a library website. Are we trained to understand to update our library website? Okay. Is it being done by WordPress? Is it being done by Drupal? Depends on what platform our library is using. Okay. And one other point around this first point here is about training on database software such as MySQL, MongoDB, emphasizing their use in organizing and retrieving data effectively. Because these are things you won't be taught in library school, apparently, right? But these are skills that we need to go learn or encourage our libraries and library staff to build capacities to learn. All right. And practical exercises include creating a basic web page using, content management systems and performing simple data retrieval or using database software. These are things that, as libraries, align solely with our role. But the question is that, do we do them? I don't know. Do you have the capacity? I don't think so. Do we need to build the capacity? Yes. All right. Are there platforms to build that capacity? Yes. Which is something we're discussing today. And the other platforms you can also go through to learn and improve progressively. Okay. And go to the second point about exploring, communications tools. Okay. a minute. Exploring communication tools, which plays a very, very unique role in context of how we communicate online, how we engage online, how we interact online, and how we use these communication tools to further improve our library service delivery. Okay, our library service delivery. For instance, now, for instance, now we are here having this discussion on Zoom. It's a communications tool. We've been communicating on WhatsApp. It's a communications tool. Google Classroom have been set up. It's a communications tool. However, how do we, in our libraries, okay, also use this to also improve library service delivery? All right. How do we use this in our various libraries to improve library service delivery? Okay. And these are the things I want to start to think of. So examination of a type of tools like Slack, Microsoft Teams, I mentioned Zoom already, for enhancing internal communication and collaboration in library setting. Getting feedback, communicating with your library users, organizing virtual meetings with them, we further improve library service delivery and get to understand what they want much more better, and then you can serve them. Okay, and discussing on the role of these tools in facilitating remote work, digital reference services, and team projects. For instance, when COVID struck, libraries were closed almost all over African countries, right? And that shows how we can explore digital communications tools to engage virtually with our various staff and various communities, also serve our users. And now in this age and time that we have not gone past the COVID, okay, how are we applying these tools, building the capacity to learn these tools, to use them and apply them to our library service delivery? It all goes back to how are we acting decisively on this? All right. And diving further to my next point, which I'll be discussing about, which is around cybersecurity and understanding the basics of cybersecurity principles, and of course, protecting digital assets and user data in libraries. As librarians, we manage public information. I hope you know. Our library users, we have their database with us. How do we make sure that they're secured? Okay. And this shows that it is important that we as librarians start to explore introducing fundamental cyber security concepts such as data privacy, data protection, and threat mitigation. Okay. How do you make sure that your library user data is not breached? How do you protect those information against threats? And some threats libraries could potentially face could include, phishing, viruses, and some other things that might affect and destroy library service delivery. As a matter of fact, I think late last year or early this year, there was a cyber attack against the British Library, which the library database was down for a couple of days before it was restored. This shows that libraries are potential threats. And that shows that we building capacity as librarians to understand data privacy, not just understand them, applying them. Data privacy, data protection, and understanding the threats that aligns to them. Okay, and of course, moving further around protecting digital assets and user data in our libraries. Are we putting in strategies to safeguard digital assets and sensitive user data? Okay, when we save our various databases, are we using secure password, encryption, and network security measures? Okay, so that our libraries do not have breaches. Are you getting my point? So that they don't breach our database and steal information. And I think one thing we also need to work on around this, as we go on as librarians around this to improve our literacy on this, is that this imperative that we have workshops and sessions. Okay, workshop and sessions and capacity development programs to sensitize our librarians about these things and how we can be protected online. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last part of my presentation. I'm going to walk you through again to give you a recap what we discussed today. How this plays an instrumental role in our work as librarians. I'm sure you must have received the contents documentation, which you have said today. Also has a couple of articles I need to go work on. Okay, these are things you need to act on. Are things you have a responsibility as librarians to seek to practicalize in our various libraries and apply them decisively to go ahead. Okay, we have discussed about introduction to digital literacy, core competencies of digital literacy in libraries, and we've spoken about some few practical skills and tools. And we've gone to the first mode where we spoke about what is digital literacy, the importance of digital literacy, and we dive into the historical context and evolution of digital literacy, where it shows clearly how libraries have played a huge role in that particular context. And we've gone through, how digital literacy is important to us in our personal life, as a professional in the library ecosystem. And we've spoken about the historical context and evolution where libraries has evolved over time, digital literacy. Libraries have been able, to be part of this progress over time, transitioning digital literacy ecosystem and making sure that we apply digital tools and digital platforms in our libraries to serve our users. We've spoken about, core competencies of digital literacy, where we discuss around information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy, and data literacy. And we spoke about diving further around these things much more on information literacy. And also we discussed about media literacy. We've spoken about technology literacy and also data literacy is something very, very different in the context around how we're using library data to engage our policymakers in our libraries, to improve library service delivery, to understand growth for libraries, and understand how library growth should look like in the foreseeable future. And of course, in the third module, we spoke briefly about digital literacy in libraries, so we explore some digital tools applicable for libraries, the online cataloging, e-resource management, online engagement in our various libraries. And we also dive into, practical tools and skills around, essential digital tools that we need to know how to use and cybersecurity for librarians. Okay. And this actually helps us, to understand further our role as librarians, the role we play as digital literacy champions, I must say, and how we have a role on our own part to apply the principles we've discussed today. Not just apply them, but see how we can, implement them strategically in our various libraries, make our libraries much more viable, serve the need of our users. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will be my presentation for today. I know you all have questions you want to ask. Please feel free to ask your question. I'm happy to respond to them and let's interact. And I'm happy to provide more context and more clarity as we discussed today. So, colleagues, thank you for your time and for listening. And I believe that from this session, it all goes back to action. What are you doing? You've understand the foundation of digital literacy as librarians. Now you are empowered. How are you being able, to progressively go on and apply these principles in your libraries? Because this we're doing today is not just for talking's sake. It's for us to be able to apply them, for us to be able to say, okay, let me take up security for my library. How do you make sure that okay, library data is well secured, you don't have data breached? How do I make sure that okay, we have effective communication tools to use to communicate to our users out there? How do you make sure that okay, are we able to engage our library users electronically or through online platform? So it all goes back to application and applications. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll be all for today. At this point, I will open the floor for questions. Over to you, colleagues. Elijah, are you there?
Okay. So thank you so much, speaker. It is undeniable experience to acknowledge the fact that we have all learned something today, and I believe we are considering taking actions already. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an overview of digital literacy, and I would like to implore you all to start taking action. Little efforts, like Nick Tanzi said, it started from somewhere, and within that line, he has grown so much that everyone wants to hear him speak. I would like to give you an instance of myself. Recently, I started working on Microsoft Access, and I discovered that that particular application has a lot of features. And
Elijah, we can't hear you. Press you're muted.
please, can you hear me speak?
There's an echo. It appears there's a different laptop in that place with the power. You can also hear us. So it's giving an echo.
Okay.
Able to speak now, you're still muted.
Can you still hear me?
So there's a different device in your room connected to the same meeting, and the noise is echoing as you speak. So it's interfering with the conversation here. So that you jump from one device and you close the other device.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you, Elijah. There's an echo. There's a different device connected to this meeting in that same room where you are. So as you speak, that device is speaking and it's causing echo. There are two devices in the room where you are listening to this conversation. So as you speak, it's speaking and it's echoing to the conversation. It needs to be one device in that room with you as you are speaking there. I can see Dominic has hand is up, perhaps. He has a question, Dominic. Dominic, you can ask your question.
Thank you very much for this wonderful session of presentation. My question goes directly to the assignment. First, I want to say that I am not a librarian, but the fact that it's a digital literacy training, it attracted me to apply for the program. And I'm being impacted with the training I'm receiving. But it becomes difficult when certain questions apply to library settings. I don't know, you in answering that question, if you are not a librarian, how do we go about it? Because the question is, in one word, describe how, digital, or let me read it out, can be applied to library setting. Describe one way digital literacy can be applied in a library setting. Now, some of us here, I don't know, but I'm not, let me speak for myself, I'm not a librarian. So how do we go about this? So if you can help us rephrase this question to accommodate those that are not librarians, some of us will appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your question, Dominic. And I think this will be directed to the coordinator, that is Elijah, is going to follow up with you on that. And I think, because basically, I can see we have another hand is up from Lawal Ayotunde. Lawal Tunde Ayola, apologies. I believe you have a question. You can speak now and ask your question in 30 seconds. Let's keep it brief and short, please. Lawal, are you able to speak? Great. I think Lawal was unable to speak. So, Iger, are you able to speak now? Have you been able to resolve the echo issue?
Okay.
Perfect. Please, over to you.
Please, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's
Can
better.
you hear me, please? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Dominic, digital literacy skills is not limited to librarianship or library and information professionals. No, we have been able to carefully select the competencies we are focusing on for this particular training. No, for instance, with media editing and formatting, media management and creation, social media management. These competencies are not limited to librarianship alone. When you properly acquire those skills, you can apply them to your organizations. You know, Mr. Damilare is known to be a core librarian, and his presentation has been directed to the field of librarianship. But if you follow very closely, you'll see that some of the things he has mentioned are applicable. For instance, cybersecurity, there are things you can apply to your own organization, irrespective of the field. So I would like you to pay close and keen attention to all of our lectures. And if you still have more questions as regard this, you can always direct them to us. We'll provide adequate answers to them. Please, is that clear, Mr. Dominic? Okay. So please, we would like to take more questions before we take our leave. Do we have any question?
No.
Okay. So for adventure, after you have been able to go through the contents, the materials on your dashboard, if you read them through, I believe you would have some questions jotted down. We are still going to come back to this live session on Saturday. So it's going to be a very brief one. It's just for recap, questions and answers. So we'll be able to take those questions and provide answers to them respectively. So I would like to appreciate I think Mr. Dare deserves a sounding round of applause. Please let us give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. Very brief and precise. God bless you, sir. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you to you all for attending today's training. However, I have some announcements to make. Now, these are some of the activities we expect you to complete in this week. So we need you all to join the module using the link sent on WhatsApp. So we observe that some are being provisioned on 2, 3 module. So you need to click on those links one after the other. If you click on the module 1 link, you click on it, it takes you to the platform, you click on join. You go back to WhatsApp, you click on the module 2 link, click on it, it takes you to the platform, you click on join. So you complete the 5th modules. Please, is that clear? I want to believe that is clear enough. So if you want to confirm if you have been provisioned for all of the 5 modules, you need to click on the 3. I sent a video. So if you watch that video, you are going to understand it. So also we have pre-assessment skills. Some of us have been answering that. When you click on that quiz, it's going to direct you to a Google form. After filling it, you still need to go back to the platform and you can write